Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the DuPage County Development Committee of January 21st to order, and we have a roll call, please.
Member Krajewski,
Here.
member Rutledge,
Here.
member Covert.
Here.
Member Ozog.
Here.
Vice Chair Yu.
Here.
Chair Tornathorn.
Here, and we have a quorum. I have no remarks. We'll move on to public comment. We have a number of people who wish to publicly comment. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. There will be a total of 30 minutes for public comment. We're going to keep time. Looks like we should be able to get everyone in within the 30-minute time limitation. We take no new testimony at this development committee, but you're certainly allowed to discuss for or against any item on the agenda. However, we don't accept nor will we take any documents or anything of that sort this morning on that. With that, I will begin with Curtis. I can't see your last name.
Okay.
Okay, Curtis, you're up first.
Yeah, where do you like me? Right here?
Sure, anywhere.
See on the
I
camera.
don't-
Yeah, I was gonna say,
We can see on the cameras.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm the Director of Community and Economic Development with the Village of Bensenville. I'm here to speak on 000225. It's the funeral services with cremation. And it's a unincorporated property just off Route 83 in unincorporated Bensenville. We are in opposition. Fenton School District 100 filed opposition. District 2 Elementary District, both neighboring to this property, filed opposition. I believe DuPage Health also filed opposition to this concept. So we just have some serious concerns about the nature of this particular use on this site. It's a very intense use going on a site that we believe is much too small. If you see the development plans, even on they have a dome, and even on the viewing area, the dome alone, they say they're 200 capacity on that second story. That doesn't include the full facility. There's only 140 parking spaces at this spot. It's a very intense use right off of 83 with no lights, no intersection. We're worried about traffic. We're worried about just the nature of the use next to school districts, park districts. It just doesn't seem to fit. I can appreciate they say that there's a very strong need for this use in their community. I can appreciate that. It just doesn't seem to fit on this particular site. It's just a much too intense use there. We have a lot of concerns. You know, we've gone through this before on this property with the current owners continue to market the property as a commercial use. It's zoned residential. Route 83 corridor plan was just approved a few years ago, talked about this site in particular, it's called out in the plan as being a residential use. But the current owners continue to market it as a commercial venture. And we just think there's something very wrong with that. Like it's not meant for that intense of a use. And so we have some serious concerns of what that means for the future of the community. And it's surrounded by incorporated Bensenville and directly next door to an elementary school. And then the next lighted intersection is the high school district. Like I said, just very intense use for what we believe is too small of a property, and then traffic in and out of a non-lighted intersection at 83 is very concerning. So yeah, just like I said, a lot of opposition to this, all the neighboring taxing bodies, and we just feel that this particular site isn't a great space for this use. So thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Quinn.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Quinn. I'm village planner with Bensenville. We filed an objection protesting this case on December 25th, 2024, and we spoke against this at the previous meeting. Once again, we just feel that funeral home with a crematorium, not the best use for this property. Doesn't fit the surrounding neighborhood character, incorporated or unincorporated. You know, it's residential, unincorporated on the other side of the highway. It is institutional, you know, elementary schools, high schools, a park district with a pool directly adjacent to this property. And several planning documents at multiple levels of government, all designated as single family residential. Curtis just said the Route 83 corridor study for DuPage County highlights this as single family residential. Bensenville Comprehensive Plan highlights this as residential, all being developed into single family homes to match the character of the nearby elementary schools. Moreover, as Curtis also touched on, the previous meeting provided questions with no answers. They project high capacity, high frequency events at this proposed crematorium, but it doesn't feel like it has the traffic infrastructure to accommodate this. There's no dedicated turn lane either direction. We drove by on the way here, or a traffic light at the entrance due to its close proximity to a high school that sees activity pretty much from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, all days of the week. We feel that this would create a traffic hazard along the important corridor. So just thank you very much.
Thank you. The next two items are public comment on item 7A, which I'm going to ask with leave of the body to have that. I've been told by Mr. Huss, we're going to be pulling that item. But if Joe Abel and Brian Armstrong, if you still want to comment, or so I'm going to leave it up to you guys if you want to go ahead. Give it-
I think I'll wait until it's
Okay.
in front of the board.
Okay, and what about you, Joe? Same thing?
Same.
Okay, great. So, okay, the next, Pete DeCiani.
Chairman, members of the county board, good to be here. I'm actually speaking today on behalf of Dr. Gopal Lamalani. Many of you remember Dr. Gopal Lamalani was the three-term mayor of Oak Brook. Here's a letter from him to the board regarding the Hindu crematorium / funeral home. My name is Dr. Gopal Lamalani, a practicing cardiologist and a citizen of DuPage County for over 45 years. Many of you remember me as a three-term mayor of Oak Brook. For several decades, as a member of the Hindu faith, our community has been looking for a facility that will handle the rituals, ceremonies, and the remains of members of our Hindu faith. The opportunity before you is a 501c3 Hindu-based facility that will engage the community and address the needs of our residents of Hindu faith. This worthy facility will also accommodate the needs of our faiths, including Christians, who are looking for a funeral home crematorium facility. I sincerely hope and pray that you will join me in supporting and improving this great organization that will embrace our Hindu community as well as all of our faiths. Thank you for your kind attention and favorable consideration for this unique opportunity. And as a person who's representing this organization, I just would like to remind those who are on the committee that the R1 zoning for the county does allow for conditional use, not a variation. Schools, parks, and funeral homes. So this is a permitted use. We do not need a variation. And it's something that's been permitted throughout our county. So they hired a Catholic to represent them. So, but at the end of the day, traffic issues have been dealt with. These are ceremonies that will be at non-peak hours. There will be no traffic through the schools. In fact, if you notice, none of the school districts have actually come here today in opposition because I reached out to them and addressed those needs. So we have nobody from the school districts from both District 2 and FET here today in opposition. And lastly, the wetlands issues. Currently, the property has is in violation of wetlands. Christopher Brook Engineering has been retained by them, and everything that they've proposed will bring that property in compliance. It'll have a buffer between the surrounding neighborhood taxing bodies. It will preserve wildlife, nature, animals, clean water, etc. And so all of the issues that have been brought up, whether it's traffic or wetlands, have been addressed. And we hope for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on to the next, Sandra. Can't get your last name, but Sandra?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
thank you. I live at 8116 Fairmount Avenue on the Bruce Lake, in the Bruce Lake area. And we have, for the past 5 years, been trying to have a neighbor remove a dock that was built 95% on our property. We've tried to work with them for quite a few years, and finally, as a last resort, we went to the county asking them to assist us. That neighbor was issued a violation. We continue to try to get the dock removed. They have submitted a petition, a conditional use petition, to build 1 inch from the property line on the west side, which is above ground, but there's been no definition of the setback, which borders our property, which is on it's the north part of our property and the Phillips South property. No definition of a setback. And my understanding is with a conditional use permit, you must, with any other property, bordering property, must define what the setback is. There was also no survey completed by the petitioner. My understanding is with DuPage County, when you submit this type of a petition, that you must have a survey that is at least 1 year old. We personally went and paid for a survey for our property so that we could prove to DuPage County that the land that we're talking about is indeed our property. Some of this goes into the water. The hearing officer did put a finding on this petition, and we are asking for further clarification because it actually states that he said, I've made a finding that nothing in this order is intended to permit any intrusion on the neighboring property, either by virtue of construction, maintenance, or use of the pier to be constructed. We're asking for further clarification on what does he mean by the use of the pier? Is he talking above ground? Is he talking the lake bed? We would appreciate if we could have further instruction on that. The other thing I just wanted to add, as I said, for 5 years, we've been trying to get this neighbor off of our property. He still is on our property. And we're trying to approach this with an abundance of caution. And we ask you to be definitive and clarify these points. We would like to have a finality to this neighbor with his ongoing encroachment. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Adam Cosella.
I'm Adam. I'm speaking for the division of a lot that already exists in Lyle. I am currently a homeowner in Lyle, and this lot is actually on the way to a park that I take my son to go sled at where we have snow. We've done a ton of digging and research to make sure that splitting this lot does not incur on, anybody in a negative way. I've reached out to the neighbors, and kind of the two concerns they had was one about watershed, especially from the people that live up onto Kingston. Well, this property is 10 feet lower than Kingston, and last time I checked, water doesn't run uphill. So they wouldn't have an issue with that. Another thing that they mentioned was excessive traffic. The whole point of getting this property split is to build another small 1,500 square foot home, which I am trying to retire my parents into that home. So they'll see, 2 cars there, once a day when they come and leave for work, or me when I drop off my kid to be watched. This lot split is actually in perfect harmony with all the other lot splits that have been done in that subdivision. It's roughly the same size. We are not planning on building a 5,000 square foot mansion, as others have tried. It's a small, 1,500 square foot home, for, just an older couple to retire into. That particular area of that subdivision is probably the most unkept area. I think, being able to get the lot split, getting that home built, and then the current home that is on the other lot, getting that fixed up will add a lot of value to the property. Curb appeal, another home is another, another X amount of taxes that can be paid into the community for further community improvement. So, we're asking to approve the variance to build a small home to retire my parents into, and I think it'll just add, overall value, and curb appeal in line to things that have already been done, in that same subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. Moving on to the minutes of December 3rd, I'll entertain a motion to approve those, please.
So moved.
Second. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Moving on to budget transfers, I'll entertain a motion to approve 25-0272. The transfer of funds from 1100-2810-5000 regular salaries, the amount of $33,000 to 1100-2810-5100. The motion in a second. Any Questions, comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Leave of the body, item 7A has been withdrawn. Item 7B, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 2-25 zoning 2475. Moxtown, the zoning board of appeals are recommending to approve a conditional use for a funeral home with cremation services in the R4 single family residence district located directly east of Route 83. This was approved by the CBA 7-0. There's a motion and a second. Questions, comments? Member Kajewski.
Paul around here.
Paul's not in, but
Okay, well,
Jessica's here.
Jessica, just as good, maybe better, probably. Just, looking at the zoning board of appeals, the hearing and, the board came back and demonstrated that the conditional use factors were all met. I mean, one of them, is the traffic. So did they have a traffic study that was done?
Believe we did not have a traffic study for this.
What was in the hearing there? Because I know it says they demonstrated, at least the board says, unduly increases traffic congestion in public streets and highways.
So the,
Petitioner has demonstrated that the proposed funeral home would be located on the east side of the.
so the zoning board of appeals recommend to approve this space for traffic. It is located on Route 83. It already takes direct access to and from 83, which is a 4-lane RTO roadway. And they determined that based on the size of the property and the proposed.
Okay, so based on it, because it is Route 83, and it's probably 40,000
Right,
plus cars a day.
yes, it's the major
And-
4-lane major arterial.
Right, and this being the small size of it is, that on Route 83, that demonstrated.
Correct, and that most of the services would be at off-peak hours, so in evenings and mostly weekends.
Okay, I saw that in there. Okay, thank you.
Member Vice Chair, you.
I have one comment and one question. So my one concern was that the health department had an objection with regard to the water or sewer usage, I believe it was. Yes, current septic system installed in 1964 only has capacity for 100 people. So I just wanted to confirm with you, Jessica, that you are going to address this particular issue. Is that right?
Yes, they will be updating the system on the property.
Okay. And just as per my comment, if that's all right, Chair Tornatore, I just want to state that it's interesting because I know I understand that there's been comment that this is not the best use, but what's there currently is a church, and it's a dilapidated church. It needs to be obviously taken down, but it was a place of worship, and to have this as a Hindu funeral crematorium, I think that is also honoring your dead and being able to bury them in your religion. I think that's very important as well. So I don't see how the use has necessarily changed exactly, and particularly because this is a conditional use, it is allowed pursuant to, our ordinances and guidelines. The other thing is, I think it's a really specious argument to say that, if it's a crematorium, it therefore doesn't fall under funeral home. So for all those reasons, I'm in favor of this project.
Thank you. Member Ozark.
I just have a question about usage. And I'm not sure who can answer this, but can it only be used by the Hindu community or can other groups use it? My question is simply about frequency of use and traffic, et cetera. Do we
Yes, sir.
have any indication
It
of?
was testified at the hearing that it would be open to all.
Okay,
So, primarily they indicated there would be members of the Hindu faith, but it would be open to anyone, and they even stated that at the public hearing.
okay. But obviously there's no cap on how much you could use a facility like this, but their intentional use is that it would be during the weekdays, whatever, evening, that sort of thing. It wouldn't interfere with the school day process.
Correct. That's what they testified to at the hearing, that it would be primarily off-peak hours, and mostly evenings
Okay,
and weekends.
okay, thank you.
Member Colbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's just a comment. It's also my understanding that currently there is no specific funeral home or crematory service area for the Hindu community. So I believe this would be kind of the first in the area. So they could, have their rituals and have their funerals for their loved ones. So, and I'm not seeing any specific objections And it seems to be in compliance, so, I'll be supporting this.
Member Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go with the committee first, and then we'll let the
Okay.
interlopers come in later.
Oh, glad to be not categorized as an interloper here. Thank you, Chair. I'm having password troubles on my device. How big is this property?
Approximately 4.5 acres.
And then how much of it is wetland?
There's a portion, I don't have the exact size on that, on the north and east, south side, it kind of curves in. So they'll actually be repairing and, enhancing and mitigating the wetlands all on site. There would be no fee paid in lieu of. They will, stormwater's determined that that would work for this development. They've already taken a preliminary look at that. So, everything would be done on site.
And then the well and septic, we've heard testimony that they don't think 150 parking spaces is adequate for what the facility has planned. So my question is, where does the septic field go? And is there enough property for that? Any chance that they'd scale their project down a little bit to accommodate for the extra parking or?
So based on our code and the size of the building, their parking spaces are sufficient. It's 4 spaces per 1,000 of chapel area in our code, and they meet that. And then for the septic as well, that would all be able to be met, I believe, to the east of the building there. Okay. But everything would be updated. It would not be using the same system. The health department reviewed it based on the 1964 plans, but it would all be updated.
And so the existing church is the one that's got the wetland violations?
Correct.
Okay. And one last comment is the environmental chair, cremation is not good for our environment. And I'll just say that I understand that there's few alternatives, but I hope to see it. Have more options for that.
And of course, the well and septic and health department issue will be addressed before they get a permit, so.
Yes, that would have to be all addressed.
That's all gonna
at
get
MD
addressed.
as well.
Member Evans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is this the same one that I think it was in 2023 that they came in the Park District, or I think, was this the one where it was gonna be at the church and this wetland thing is triggering my memory. Sorry, I didn't read the packet, but.
Wetlands that issue has been around for some time. There's been a couple of proposed plans for this property and nothing has come to fruition. There's been apartments, condos.
Was it the
storage?
Okay,
Storage
so that
place,
was the
yeah.
last one that we had voted down.
You got the right place.
As a board, so.
Yeah.
I am just really looking forward to having this wetland issue resolved, so. Whatever, if it's a responsible project, and they will fix the wetland, I am very much in support of it.
Anyone else have any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this. Roll call, please.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Covert? Aye. Member Rutledge?
Pass.
Member Ozog?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yu?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
Aye.
Member Rutledge?
And the motion carries. So, and again, everything we do gets referred to county board. This is just a recommending body. Moving on to item 7C, I want to get a motion to approve BCO 3-25, zoning 2461. Zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a conditional use to allow a small pier approximately 1 inch from the interior side property line due to the location of the lake. Again, this was CHO's recommendation to approve. May I get a motion to approve? Anyone?
Second.
Motion is second. Questions, comments? Jessica, you want to fill us in a little bit on this?
Sure, so.
I know a little bit about it, but maybe everyone else does.
There was a previous pier on this property. The homeowner will be removing that and building a new pier. That he actually has a portion of the lake on his property, so the pier will be going into that. It will not be going over the property line onto the neighbor's property, as the previous pier. And that was the indication of the hearing officer. His finding, he just wanted to indicate that him approving this was not him approving the neighbor going onto the other neighbor's property, petitioner going onto the neighbor's property. that this would be all contained on petitioner's property. It doesn't give him the right to, you know, if he has to maintain anything on the pier, to go onto his neighbor's property. But this is really just so that the petitioner can access the lake, that portion that is on his property for Bruce Lake.
As I understood it, this is really the only place for the pier to go to get that
Yes,
access.
he only has like a small carving of lake on his property based on the plat of survey. And this is just for him to access it. He also has a letter from the HOA permitting this as well.
And the property owners here have lake right issues.
Right.
I show you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. My question has to do with, there was a comment with regard to setbacks, and is there a required setback here? And would that
So-
be, part of the plan that they're going to be building this new pier?
So this was only a request for the side setback because he does have lake on his property. He is permitted to build into the lake. So the rear setback, is not an issue. It's just that side property line. And because he has that portion of the lake so far, in the corner, really the only place to put it is in that location and have a 1 inch setback on the side.
And that's what's being addressed with the conditional use is this.
And that neighbor is not objecting.
Any other question?
Didn't have to sound so happy to leave.
I know, right?
I know, I told you, you know.
Thank you, Chair Tornatori. Jessica, how much lake frontage does this property have? It's hard to tell from the maps and.
Yeah, I have to double check that. There is a survey in the packet that has a small portion. There's also aerials which aren't exact because
Yeah.
our pictures are trying to flatten the globe into our GIS system. But the HOA has determined that he does have lake on his property. Obviously that ebbs and flows with water and the height of that, but he does have lake front on his property.
Okay, and then my other question is there any utility easement or anything between this property and the property next door?
There is a 10-foot, not next door to the south, there is a 10-foot utility easement. We do permit property owners to build within that. They just need to notify their utility servicers. But they are permitted to build into that 10-foot utility setback.
Okay, and then my last question is 1 inch seems like tough. So if that pier encroaches at all on the neighboring property, I know that there are some rights of usage that eventually you can petition to take that property. Is there any condition about that here?
No, he would need to, when he comes in for a building permit for the pier, he would need to build that according to his plan. When we go out there to inspect, if any portion of that pier is over the property line, he would need to move that back.
And
You'd
I
be in
guess,
violation.
right, and I'm struggling to understand why the pier is necessary to access the lake.
That was the petitioner's request.
Okay.
So whether that just be for standing, looking, I'm not sure, but they did want to have access similar to other properties.
There are other piers on these property owners
Okay.
for boats and whatever, without a pier.
Yeah,
Where was I'm sorry, you done?
yeah, I am. Thank you, Sam.
This will rectify the issue of the encroachment, correct?
So that previous pier will no longer exist. This would be a new pier. Built,
Newly located.
newly located, not over this property to the south, their neighbors, and completely on their property.
Thank you.
Member Petruski.
What, is that an easement that's at the end of the property line that's not on the lake?
Which portion? So that is a neighbor to the south.
Is that,
That's their
that's,
property.
that's the neighbor of the south property?
Yes.
That's a walking path?
That is.
Is that going to a pier?
stream
A
That
pier
goes to
too?
the lake.
That goes to the pier, the lake too. Okay. I mean, it's very, very tough to get something there. Literally that wet, but how much is that lakefront on his property?
It's a few feet, yeah.
5 feet maybe?
And that picture isn't our GIS maps too. They won't be exact, so
Sure,
sometimes
but it
things
gives you
show
the general
skew.
concept of,
So we'll go strictly off of the survey
sure, okay.
for permitting.
Anyone else? Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair you?
Aye.
Member Cover?
Aye.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Rutland?
Aye.
Can't pass.
I did not.
Member Ozark?
Aye.
Chair Tornator?
Aye. And the motion carries. And this will be recommended to the full county board, presumably next Tuesday, Jessica. Okay. Moving on to item 7D, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 4-25 zoning 2465, the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to deny variation or reduce required lot size and a variation to reduce the required lot width, and variation to increase the floor area ratio permitted on lot 1 from 0.03 to approximately 0.42. We'll take these all combined unless anybody has an objection to it. There's a motion and a second to approve. Questions, comments? Okay, no, none, okay. Anybody need to hear anything from Jessica?
Actually, I do.
Okay. Vice Chair, you?
Yeah, I talked to you before about this, Jessica, but you were saying that this, usually the lot sizes are split equally, usually, right? And in this particular case, the lot size would be a lot smaller than the other. Is that this one or is it the next one?
That's the
Okay.
next one.
Okay, so this in particular, it was denied on the basis of the fact that they had not presented a hardship, but on the other factors, they had to prove all those things too, or no?
No, they didn't present a case as determined by the zoning hearing officer. And their hardship that they presented the petitioner was that they are being deprived of the land value of their lot by not.
Financial.
So
Right.
financial, which he could not consider as a hardship.
Okay, so then does that mean that they will be able to come back in the future with a different proposal with regard to?
They can come in the future and request if they
Yeah.
like.
All right. Okay.
Anyone can come back with a amended petition of some kind or another, but historically, financial hardships alone have not been a basis for zoning entitlements. And that's what we have on this one, and I believe another one as well. Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve this. If you wish to sustain the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to deny, you would be voting no on this. Roll call, please.
I don't think we had a motion in a second.
Did we have a, we did? I'm sorry, I thought we did. We had a motion, I thought there was a second, but.
Yeah, but there was.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Member Krajewski?
No.
Vice Chair you?
No.
Member Rutledge?
No.
Member Cover?
No.
Member Ozark?
No.
Chair Tornator?
No. And the motion did not pass. Moving on to item 7E, DCO 5-25, zoning 2469, Osella. This is the zoning officer's recommendation to deny variation to reduce the required lot size for 2 new lots, 40,000 square feet to 10,314, and 21,940, as well as variation to reduce the required lot width. Is there a motion and a second? Did I get one?
Yes.
Okay, motion and a second to approve. Questions, Member Cover? Yes.
Just really quick, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did see in the packet that the petitioner did not demonstrate the several criteria for taking care, to get this, to obtain this variance. But I just want to comment that I think that it's, I think the petitioner taking care of his parents is very honorable. And my question is, can he come back? He didn't just not demonstrate a financial hardship, but there were several other factors as well. Can he come back to the ZBA and try again in demonstrating all those factors again to get this variation?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
And I understand there were a significant number of people who are in opposition to this project.
Quite a few neighbors, about 10, 15 neighbors showed up to the public hearing in opposition, due to drainage concerns, and smaller lots in this neighborhood. They just wanted to maintain the existing lot sizes.
And again, this is another financial issue that we're dealing with as well. Vice Chair, you.
Thank you, Chair. My question has to do with accessory dwelling units. I believe that, the
I'm
homeowner.
having a
I'm
hard
sorry,
time
I didn't
hearing you.
hear you
Yeah, you
either.
gotta
I'm so
speak
sorry.
loud.
Okay, I'll keep talking. So I believe the homeowner mentioned that he really wanted to have his parents potentially live on the property. And I know that we just recently changed our ordinance with regard to ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And would this be an option that would be available to this homeowner? That's what I was.
First, I don't think we've approved that yet. I'm sorry, Sam, never mind.
No.
Never mind.
You can do.
Like, yeah, that has yet to be resolved. And according to the way the ordinance that we're going to have to look at is written, it has to be an existing structure. So building new is not an option for that.
Correct. We're not, yes, that text amendment does not incorporate a new building. It would be,
And it is existing. We did approve that.
Yeah.
But it is for existing structures. So if you had a home on property, an existing detached garage, you were looking to convert that into an ADU, that you would come forward for a conditional use for that. Or to convert an area within your existing home. Someone could apply for conditional use and variations. Anyone's welcome to apply for anything, but I don't know the likelihood of it, depending on the case, so. Thank you.
Member Kachewski.
Jessica, what's the minimum lot size in its home district?
It's well and septic, so it's 40,000.
40,000, okay, so he's at the bare minimum before the request for the split?
Right, so this is a historic lot of record, so looking to reduce the historic lot of record.
Anybody else have any questions? Did you have a question? Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this. Again, the ZHO recommended to deny. So if you wish to be consistent with that, your vote would be a no. Roll call, please.
Member Krajewski,
No.
member Rutledge,
No.
member Cooper,
No.
member Ozark,
No.
Vice Chair you,
No.
Chair Tornatori.
No, and the motion fails. Moving on to item 7F, I'll entertain a motion to approve DC 06-25, TDS 3-24. This is a text amendment to the DuPage County zoning ordinance for units relative to the principal arterial conversion of single dwelling units and not more than 2 dwelling units. Just about what we were just talking about a second ago. So there's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments?
Nobody else from the committee. Sorry, I didn't read the packet once again. I'm not in this committee, but would you mind just going over just a little bit of an overview of this? Because it almost sounds like some of these might have benefited from this text amendment.
So this is similar to, we have an existing code principal arterial office. You might see driving on North Avenue 59. There's doctor's offices, lawyers, dentists that are operating in a house. And we created that code to better utilize dilapidated properties to enhance them. This is similar, so for single family properties in the R3 and R4 zoning that have an existing house that are located on these principal arterial roadways, to convert them to allow for 2 dwelling units in the home.
Okay, so it's very similar to the one that we just passed about with the office.
Similar, except this wouldn't be an accessory. It would be you could have 2 equally sized dwellings.
Okay.
In the R3, R4 zoning, we estimated it at about 483 eligible properties.
Okay.
And then there's the listing of all the roadways as well. It's similar to the principal arterial office use. The properties have to take direct access to the principal arterial office, needs to be located directly on it. It can't be a flag lot or reserve lot, as they're called.
Okay, so thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes.
Just a quick question, only because my old property used to butt up against Butterfield Road, but access to the property was a half a block side street. Will they look at maybe allowing properties that front those locations, but have a entrance that's not on the arterial?
So this is only for properties that do take the direct access. So if you're a corner lot, let's just say, and your access is on the side street, you would not qualify. It would only be for properties taking already the direct access.
Build a new front
You
door.
don't
and
ask,
drive-
you don't get.
That's what I was
so,
thinking.
Yeah,
Change the driveway.
well, getting that approved is not an easy task, so.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to the motion carries. Finally, moving on to item 7G. I'll entertain a motion to approve 25-273 TDS 1-25, our proposed text amendment to proceed with a public hearing before the DuPage County Zoning Board of Appeals to consider text amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding video gaming to align the zoning ordinance with current liquor license regulations for greater consistency. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
This is going to be, we're going to be recommending this to the ZBA for further testimony so that the video gaming, as I understand, is going to conform and be consistent with our liquor licenses. Because one is, you got to have a liquor license in order to have a video gaming license. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, so it's to bring greater consistency. We approved text amendments this summer, but what we found out is more and more gaming cafes and terminal establishments which are accessory. They were within 1,000 feet of a protected use, which is a school, at-home daycare or a daycare, place of assembly. And just due to the location of unincorporated, surrounded by various municipalities, it's really hard to meet that 1,000-foot setback. So this will mirror liquor and we'll have the 100-foot setback. So liquor code requires the 100-foot setback from protected uses. This would mirror that as well. So this is just fixing that in our text amendments. And then just further clarifying, video gaming cafe and the accessory use of a terminal establishment.
Any questions? So we have a motion to refer this to the ZBA. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Any old business? Any new business? Hearing none, auto objection, we're adjourned. Thank you all.